Okay, everything looks like it's up and running. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Dollar Free, and it's time to continue on with more Dark Souls 2. Soul Memory 30K Challenge. Just as a quick reminder, the main challenge in this is to try and beat the game all bosses with only 30,000 souls underneath my belt. Of course, I've already had to spend a couple of thousand souls in order to buy various items that I need, but it means I'm on a very tight budget for a lot of the game. Oh, that beautiful undead look, I tell you what. Now, while this is loading up, there is a couple of things that I do actually want to talk about very briefly. Number one is the number of mistakes that I made on the last stream. So, one of the things that came up is... Hold on. Well, they're not so much mistakes, but they're little things that I didn't show off. And I might... You know, I have to go back through certain areas like Hyde's Tower of Flame, or Heidi's Tower of Flame, however you pronounce it, in order to go defeat... Actually, there's another boss in that area. So I'll get a chance to talk about one of the things I didn't show off in Heidi's Tower of Flame. There's another thing, there's a bunch of stuff that I didn't show off in No Man's Wharf, simply because I needed torches and I was trying to get through the area as quickly as possible. And in Forest of Fallen Giants, there is one more thing that I haven't shown off, but it's kind of like optional, sort of, but sort of not optional. I think I have to go there to get a DLC required item. I cannot remember if that's the case or not, but yeah, there's a little hidden area down, well, not so much hidden, but it's pretty obvious. Now, this is the house key. I got this key from Kale the Cartographer. Now, for those listening, you can hear a certain sound at the moment. It's actually on the other side of this wall. Right on the outside of the mansion. And you might think to yourself, what is that sound? Well, let's show it off. That's right, it's little piggies. Tiny little piggies. Why they're here? Well, it's kind of implied that, you know, maybe they were farm animals. This is Majula. The piggies themselves are relatively harmless. They can catch a lot of people off guard because they're so small. So, I'll quickly demonstrate with, say, I'll go a short sword here. Notice how the short sword movement is fairly horizontal, and then your thrust is fairly vertical. No, it's fairly pointed. Now, if you're trying to hit really small targets like the pigs, these swings aren't going to cut it. Let me see if this guy's showing things off in an appropriate way. He's holding the sword and he's trying to hit the pigs. And he kind of whips because he can't actually hit the pigs. There are two ways to do so. Number one is you take a weapon with a vertical swinging moveset, such as this hammer that I'm using. One. And the swings can hit the pigs. The other way to do it, however, is you don't lock on. Correct. Dark Souls 2 is the first Dark Souls, really, that allows you to manually aim your attacks based on the orientation of your camera. So, instead of locking on and your camera remains fairly eye level with the pigs, meaning your attacks will go over the top. If you don't lock on and instead look down, your attacks can actually aim towards the ground. Now, the idea of having to attack really small targets may not seem to come up that much, but there are a couple of areas where you may want to consider just not locking on, so you can actually aim at the ground and hit slightly smaller targets or targets that are about knee height at most. It's another reason why, for example, well, aside from the fact that you get absolutely bullied in Things Betwixt if you attack the things out that way, yeah, if you want to try and actually fight the little gremlin things that are out at Things Betwixt in the very first area you go through, you're going to have to, like, aim down at the ground or use a vertical swinging weapon or a combination of both. Now, Majula, in this mansion, why is there a bloodstain here? Well, notice how someone's backing up? Oh yeah, no. Well, that means there's something down here. Let's have a look upstairs first, because upstairs doesn't have anything you need to worry about. See, this is all empty. And over here is another friendly chest. Don't worry, we haven't encountered mimics yet. But in case you need more torches, really useful actually. So, you may note that I had to go to Heidi's Tower of Flame and No Man's Wharf in order to try and get to the Lost Bastille and get the Agape Ring, before I even went to the Forest of Fallen Giants. If, however, you decide to go to Forest of Fallen Giants first, you can always go meet Kale the Cartographer, get the key, get these 3 torches without any worries, no enemies here, and then you've got an extra 15 minutes of torchlight in order to get through No Man's Wharf. So you can take your time and make it through nice and easy. There's a lot of things I didn't show off in No Man's Wharf. Such as, there are actually 3 NPCs down in there. Oh yeah. Now you're starting to see a bunch of bloodstains here. Let's go about the bloodstains first. Look at all these people swing in. Couple of people dead. What have they been fighting? You see that? It's a skelly. That's right. For a lot of people who don't have clubbing weapons, a skeleton can be exceptionally dangerous to deal with. Also, another reason to come down here, an extra flask shard. Now, metal chest, again, no need to worry. There's no mimics in here. And I say in here, I mean in Majula. And a soul vessel. Now, that leads me to a couple of things to talk about. The soul vessel is the item that you use to respec your stats. You pay 1 soul vessel, you get to reallocate your stats. You must reallocate the same number of levels into your new stat lineup as you did in your previous. Now, in the case of this build, this may actually come up. I'm not going to be running around hunting NPCs because that's not exactly how I want to do things in this, although you certainly can. If, for example, you didn't want to deal with Kale the Cartographer, you could just whack him for his key, but he also drops a helmet that gives you +1 dexterity. And for this build, where I've had to invest 1 level into dexterity, if you're doing this on your own, and you're going to use the weapon that I'm planning, and you don't really want to allocate the 1 stat into dexterity, you may, for example, want to allocate it into, say, adaptability or vigor. Well, there's a helmet there available that you wear it, gives you dexterity. Now, let's talk about this map. After some point in time, Hale is going to move down here. And this little area on the ground is actually a map of Drangley. You see there's 1 torch lit up. And that one can, I think it relates to the Lost Giant specifically. As you defeat certain bosses, more and more lights will light up And eventually, once you light up all the lights, you can come back down here and talk to Kale the cartographer, and he'll give you a reward. Also, if you're playing this game on your own, that unlocks an achievement. Oh, buddy, using a rapier on Skelly is usually not the best way. Rapiers in this game are really, really good. But against certain enemies, you don't get as much value out of them. Now, with that said, I think now might be about as good a time as any to see if I can remember how to make my way over to Shaded Woods. Now, I believe I have to come up this way again. So, there are actually several areas that you can go to in order to try and get... Hold on, I think it's taking me up to Things Betwixt. Oh, Divine Blessing. Oh yeah, while I remember how to get up to Shaded Woods, I'll actually go locate this flask shard in. Now, which way do I go again for Shaded Woods? This is the fun one. It is from Majula. There's actually a bunch of areas that you can go to. Hold on. Rest up here.
Is that a shard you found? Here, let me see it, so that I may help you. To see light, to see hope, however faint it might be.
Oh. Thank you, Emerald Herald. That means now I have 3 flasks at +1. Alright, let me remember. That way leads down to Heidi's Tower of Flame. This way leads up to Things Betwixt. That leads to the Rotunda, which would lead over to Heidi's Tower of Flame. But no, that's Heidi's Tower of Flame and Huntsman's Copse. I've got to go there a bit later on. Down the left-hand side is Forest of Fallen Giants. And up is Things Betwixt. And remember how to get to Shaded Woods. This would be great. Again, I'm super rusty when it comes to certain little details about Dark Souls 2. Gotta try and remember whereabouts I'm going. Oh yeah, a Divine Blessing is a use it and you basically like recover absolutely everything. No, I think... Okay, this is the path to Shaded Woods. I'll note this message. Woman ahead, therefore be wary of toxic. It sounds really silly, but there's a really good reason why. I like this as well. Yeah, fun terrain, little things, but doesn't really matter. So, we're not quite in Shaded Woods yet. Oh, what's all the blood stains here? Oh, I see what's happened. Yep, I know what's happened here. So, first things first. Let's introduce ourselves to another NPC. We'll just grab this item first. Life Gems, Homeward Bones. Beautiful. This is Benhart of Jugo. And you might notice he's holding a certain blue sword in his hands.
Have you business with me? The way yonder's all blocked up, you see, by this god-awful statue. Heavens above. Who thought it a good idea to put it there? Oh, I'm in quite the pickle now.
Oh, tell you what, Benhart of Jugo is such a bro. So, we met Lucatiel of Mira in Lost Bastille, up near where we got the key that we needed to get up to Strayed, who sells the Agape Ring. Should mention as well, you can also meet Lucatiel in No Man's Wharf. Now, I skipped Lucatiel, again, the lack of torches, the lack of time, too many enemies to try and deal with that I didn't want to deal with. But you can summon Lucatiel as a summon to help you out with the boss, the Flexile Sentry. Lucatiel and Ben Hart are two types of NPCs who progress through their storyline by you summoning them to fight bosses and them living to the end when you beat the boss. In their case, you have to beat multiple bosses in order to try and progress their storylines. Now, I did that before with mild-mannered Pate, but Pate only needs to be summoned at the last giant in order for him to move to his next location. There's another character as well who I'll meet who's also tied to Pate's story, but you don't have to summon that character in order to move them to their next location, I believe. You can get away with it by using Pate. But Ben Hart and Lucatiel you'll meet over multiple occasions. However, to fully clear their story, you have to have beaten a certain number of bosses with them as NPC summons. So I've skipped Lucatiel's summon at Flexile Sentry, but that means I then have to try and summon Lucatiel for another couple of bosses where she's a potential option in order to get her to her final destination. Ben Hart over here will be the same way. He'll have a couple of places where you can try to summon him out, and you have to summon him and beat the boss with him alive at a certain number of locations for him to get to the end. And you do all that, you'll get rewards from those respective characters, including, in the case of Ben Hart, a certain blue sword. As for why there's so many bloodstains over here, well, not this one, but these ones in particular. Any number of these bloodstains could be people who are attempting to attack Ben Hart to try and get the sword early, because he will drop it if he dies. Now, let's show off this little area. There was talk about Ben Hart, there was talk from Ben Hart about a statue. Notice it looks a little familiar? Yeah, this is another petrified character. In order to get to Shaded Woods, you have to use a Fragrant Branch of Yore in order to release the petrification on this character here. Also, you hear that sound just on the other side of the doorway. Yeah, that's frogs. That, however, doesn't explain the toxic. Frogs in this game will inflict curse. We all know what curse does. You automatically die. You lose more of your HP. Have fun with curse. The people behind the door, however, that's your toxic. Yeah, they're holding poison clubs. Alright, Lloyd's Talismans, if you're not familiar with those, they're a PvP use item that stop people from healing using Estus flasks or life gems, I believe. Alright. I just want to deal with these guys so I can actually talk to the NPC in peace, because we did pick up a Fragrant Branch of Yore. Yeah, petrification does a number on your lungs. Give her a moment, give her a moment. She'll get there.
I've been
Now, considering how she's going when petrified, Strayed did pretty darn well.
A moment, please.
Like, he had a little bit of uneasiness, but he went straight into conversation. Now,
I'm fine. I think.
hold up,
No,
we need it.
I'm fine. Really,
Okay,
I am.
now we're good.
My name is Rosabeth.
Now,
Thank you so much for rescuing me.
Rosabeth's a pretty important character, depending on your build. So, Rosabeth is actually your pyromancy trainer. Now, if you go through No Man's Wharf and you beat the Flexile Sentry, you might remember I've picked up a pyromancy flame. Now, Rosabeth is the person you come to if you want to get more pyromancy abilities.
Oh, you're that traveler. I still haven't thanked you. Well, I'm quite a hand at pyromancy. So perhaps you could consider this my thanks.
Now, the stone's got nothing to do with pyromancy. Now, we can hear there are frogs on the other side of the door, and Rosabeth was trying to crank that lever to get through. The problem is, if we crank the lever now, Rosabeth's going to have a fun time with all of the frogs. And I'm going to have a fun time because I don't want to attack her.
I was attacked and turned to stone, I think. I owe you my life. If you had not come... Oh, I feel shameful.
But here's the other fun part about Rosabeth.
I hate to burden you further, as you've already saved my life. But just look at me. My clothes are in tatters. Do you have any clothing that you could spare?
Yeah. So, Rosabeth, you can
I'll
use
take
the play
anything.
dress up.
Whatever you don't need. I'm not particular when it comes to apparel.
Yep.
Anything
And-
at all will do.
Right. And so, for this part,
Just put it on the ground, and I'll change into it later.
yeah, so for this part, you need to give Rosabeth at least one piece of equipment. Any piece of equipment you like. And then she'll be able to move through. Now, in the for this part, what I might do is I might go, say... I'll give her the hunter's gear. But this is definitely a lot more fun when you go towards New Game Plus and you have a lot of pieces of gear. Because you can dress up Rosabeth in a lot of ways. Now, whatever you give her here now, she'll change into. Where she changes into it, you'll actually see it because if you give her items here and then you go to a bonfire. So, say we run back to Majula. Ah, hello, Timmy. How you doing? Yeah, I'm just going on about playing dress up with Rosabeth here. So much fun to do this, especially in New Game Plus when you have so many pieces of clothing. I think this is going to be okay. Yep. And whatever you give her, you can't get it back, but that's fine.
I have my very own teacher. His name is Carillion of the Fold.
Oh yeah,
a famed
Carillion's the other
sorcerer around
NPC,
here.
or the second of
hometown.
3 NPCs that I ignored in No Man's
I was
Wharf.
fascinated by sorcery when he set out, but... Thank you so much. I'm very
Oh,
happy.
you know
for
what?
this
I'm
visit.
also glad to see chat's working again.
After I change into this, I'm heading for Majula.
Yeah, I'm doing alright. It's been a bit
I'm
of a
not
busy
sure where I
day.
might
I've
find
had a
my
lot of
lord.
running around to do, but
But perhaps Majula is my best chance.
I'm super happy actually to be playing Dark Souls 2 again. Now, just for everyone else, in order to get Rosabeth to move, you have to go rest at a bonfire. So I'm going to run back to Majula, and I'm going to rest there, and then we'll see Rosabeth having moved over. Yeah, I've got to make my way over to So, just for your information, Timmy, I'm going to make my way over to Shaded Woods, and then I'm going to try to get to the early part of Shrine of Winter before the entrance to the main part. And I think the weapon I'm after I can get before going into sort of the main part of Shrine of Wood. Oh, you know, before I get into the main part where you would otherwise go to Drangley Castle. Also, another thing I forgot from last week. I completely missed out on an item behind me. The Morning Star and the Cleric's Chime. Dark Souls 2 is pretty good about trying to give you some... Oh, no, I'm just hollowed out. Yeah, no, I'm just hollowed. Ring of the Dead is like way away. Right now, I'm rocking some very early game rings, except for that one, which is essential for this challenge. You may not know about this ring. I'm trying to actually think. Yeah, no, I think this ring gets updated in the original version of Dark Souls 2. It came out around the same time as the DLCs were released, but it was put into the main game. And again, just for the record, while I have this ring equipped, any souls that I earn are absorbed by the ring, and I do not earn them. So no matter how many enemies I defeat, I will not ever get any more souls, and my soul memory will stay at what it is, which is 31,211. Oh yeah, we'll see the refresh. Right, Rosabeth, where are you? No, hold on, I might have to warp. I think I know what I have to do. I think I have to warp. Let me go just quickly. We'll just do this and then walk back to Majula, and hopefully Rosabeth's moved out of the way of the Shaded Woods area. Yeah, no. So the Agape Ring isn't a DLC item. It got when the DLCs got released, the Agape Ring was added into the base game of Dark Souls 2. Strayed of Olivas sells it up at the just before Sinner's Rise. And it costs 5,000 souls. This should work at least for getting Rosabeth out now that I've actually traveled. Yep, and there we are. But just to show off, here's Rosabeth all dressed up in the hunter's gear that I gave her.
Oh, there you are. I'm here in Majula thanks entirely to you. You even were kind enough to clothe me. Thank you so very much. The only thing I can offer is pyromancy.
Yeah,
if that might help
so...
you, come to me.
Hold on. I'll just quickly show. Yeah, you can give Rosabeth more items or more equipment and change up her clothes, but again, whatever you give her, you won't get back. So the hunter's gear that I gave her, I'm not going to see that again. And depending on your build, here are your pyromancies. You can get Fireball, Fire Orb or Combustion, or even Poison Mist, Flash Sweat, Iron Flesh. All pretty useful. Flash Sweat has a little bit of purpose, particularly if you want a bit of a helping hand against, say, Smelter Demon. You can Flash Sweat to help reduce the fire damage, which also really kicks in Phase 2.
Be safe.
Yeah. But with the Agape Ring, whenever I defeat an enemy, I do not earn any souls from that enemy. So I earn nothing anymore. Absolutely nothing. And by earning nothing, that's part of the challenge in this run. So I'll be trying to beat every single boss in order to... Yeah, every single boss in Dark Souls 2, including the DLC bosses. While only having 32,000 souls to ever spend. Of which, yeah, I'm kind of miffed at myself a little bit last week, but then again, I'm very rusty. I can't believe I missed the firebomb throw so many times. Ooh, that was awful. Thankfully, this build's got a little bit of leeway room in terms of how many souls I can spend on firebombs.
What? Clearing the way was you doing, was it?
Oh, Ben Hart, you're such a cool bro.
Didn't think you had
Such a
it in
bro.
you, pal. No. That's not like it sounds, no. It was a pleasant surprise, that's all.
Yeah, if you're going to play
Thanks
Dark
to
Souls 2
you,
while listening
I
along
can
and chatting,
resume my
all
journey.
go ahead. It's...
If we share the same path, I'm sure that we are
Yeah,
going to meet again.
Dark Souls 2's got this thing where a lot of people go into it,
To you in battle. I swear
and it's like, okay,
my
they don't
sword.
quite get it.
The road ahead's going to be long. But
I recently just got a recommended video of someone who played Elden Ring first game, and then them going back through the other Souls games. So they started with Demon Souls, then Dark Souls 2. And fair enough. Because Dark Souls 2 feels so different from... Okay, buddy, you got to calm down there. Because Dark Souls 2 feels so different from everything else, the amount of, struggling early on, it's like, it's very understandable. But once you understand Dark Souls 2 and it clicks, it's as easy as hammering someone in the back of the head. Alright. Now for the fun challenge. Pranking this level. So, that's going to close off the door behind. There's going to be a bunch of guys coming in. I'm gonna die. Yep, there we are. Poison. Yeah, Dark Souls 2 is definitely the one that requires the most amount of explaining. Because it's not necessarily intuitive. And I've seen so many different rounds of complaints from things like the way the movement works in its directional axis, to, adaptability, iframes being tied to agility, so on and so forth. But again, it's a thing that, okay, you can argue that having your invincibility frames tied to a stat that you have to boost up via other stats is obtuse and unfair to the player. And it's like, fair enough, you can make that call, but once you understand the mechanic, it's very easy to work around it. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I hadn't even gotten to the frogs yet in this first area. So, that's correct. 1, 2, 3, 4 doorways open up, and you have 4 more toxic guys coming down. Then, while that back door is shut, and this takes time to open, once this opens up, you have to deal with the frogs coming in. Your best thing to do in this case is actually to try and live as long as you can, run into here, and then wait for this door to shut and the other one to open up, and then just make some space. Uchi in Dark Souls 2, I believe there is. I think you get it a little bit later on. It's not an early game weapon. Alright, at the very least, I've got my souls back, so I can rest assured if I die again, I'm still fine. Yeah, I'm trying to remember where the Uchi might be. I don't know if it's like a blacksmith weapon that you can buy. I can't remember. Maybe I'll check with Old McDuff's workbench. 1. Ooh. Alright, I think I just heard the gate open. There's the frog. Alright, I've got to get the frog out. Beautiful. Frog's out. Run this way, run this way, run this way. Deal with this. And I think we're all good. Okay, now we're clear. Now I've just got to deal with every enemy in here. Oh, jeez Louise. I completely forgot about that move. Yeah, the frogs are horrid. They're always horrid no matter which Souls game they are. Absolutely the worst. Oh yeah, while I'm here, quickly show off a couple of little things. Yeah, upstairs, you can sort of see it. There are more Oh, I can make the jump. Come on, I know I can do this. You know what? I give up. There are definitely more toxic guys. So, there is a lever on this side if you decide you're crazy enough to run back from Shaded Woods. Hold on. Yeah, if you're crazy enough to run from Shaded Woods to Majula and you need to open this lever, guess what? You'll have to deal with the same thing again with more toxic guys. Or more poison guys. Oh yeah. When you use this bonfire, close the door. Because your frog's on this side. As for why there's a bonfire here, this is one of those bonfires that's really hard to explain. Any tips for the Sentinels in New Game Plus No Man's Wharf? Stuff those things, the enemies are the thing that's killing you. Sentinels in No Man's Wharf. It's a little tough. Trying to remember which ones are the Sentinels. Hold on, let me get to the next bonfire, which is actually one of the bonfires that actually kind of matters. Oh. Hold on. Okay. S-Stock. S-Stock is best stock, supposedly. Let me go. Where's the S-Stock? I don't have the stats for the S-Stock, do I? No, I do have the stats for the S-Stock. Okay. You've got... Yeah. Hold on. Just gonna make my way up to the bonfire, like I said. Different animation there on the stock stab. Right. Okay, I think I should be good now to get up to the bonfire. There shouldn't be any more items that I need to pick up in this section. Harris's lockstones are going to come into use a little bit later on as well. But, should be... hold on. Do I have any firebombs? Black firebombs. I've got witching urns as well. First things first. Doug. There we go. Yeah, I'm not going to deal with 4 of those guys at once. And the witching urns were free, so might as well use them. Alrighty, here's the bonfire. This is probably one of the major bonfires you need to unlock as part of your Dark Souls 2 run. Because from this bonfire, you have multiple locations you can get to. Now, let me remind myself about the New Game Plus boss. New Game Plus No Man's Wharf. And again, when I'm looking up Dark Souls 2 information, always use Wikidot. The reason I say use it, so there's Wikidot and Fextra Life. I say for if you're looking at Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2, use Wikidot. They were the original wikis for Souls-like games. It's kind of funny. When Dark Souls first came out in Japan, it sat there for like a good long while before it came out into English. But the English version of, Demon Souls. Yeah, when Demon Souls then came out into English, as part of the Demon Souls Collector's Edition, or it basically was the Standard Edition, they released a gameplay guide for, this is, if you've never played Demon Souls, here's some things that you can do, here's a build guide that we recommend, here's what starting class you should pick, and here's what they all do. but the guide was based off information that English players had obtained from playing the Japanese version of Demon Souls, and then I believe they put it into the Wikidot at first. So it was a pretty interesting thing because... Oh, and I've still got my copy of that Demon Souls player's guide. It's very comprehensive, right from the beginning of the game right through to the end of the game as well. It's not like general overview stuff. Sure, it hides information from you in terms of like what items you might be able to pick up in every specific area. But it is such a detailed guide that I think if you had that Demon Souls guide and you took it to Demon Souls Remastered, you'd have such an easier time playing through Demon Souls than someone who had no information. For a lot of people though, their first encounter with the Soul series is Dark Souls, which didn't come with a guide for it. Yeah, no, that's fine. And that's one of the reasons why Demon Souls is kind of only on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 5, is because Sony's got the license for it. Now, let me see. Remind myself of the areas. We're going to look up No Man's Wharf, just so I can remind myself what are the New Game Plus things. So, when you're talking about the Sentinels in New Game Plus, let's see if I can remind myself of enemies. Stray dogs, crystal lizards, roaming souls. Are we talking specifically like the Flexile Sentry? Is it an enemy on the way to the boss, or is it the boss itself? I think the boss is pretty straightforward, but... Anyway, I've got that open once you've got your... more of a description now. Oh, the enemies in the arena. That's right. So it spawns enemies. One of the things you might be able to do is... Okay. For that enemy specifically, you may want to actually consider summoning Lucatiel of Mira, just simply to act as a tank. You can encounter Lucatiel of Mira in No Man's Wharf, and when you talk to her in her location, there's like a little shortcut area that you can unlock partway through No Man's Wharf, where it effectively allows you to cut through some of the buildings and then get into the second half of No Man's Wharf. Lucatiel is in that area just after the shortcut, and when you talk to her, you can summon her for the Flexile Sentry. Maybe it is worth getting Lucatiel's summon so she can actually either distract Flexile Sentry or distract that enemy. Preferably she distracts Flexile Sentry, and then you can deal with the Sentinel, because you don't want to deal with both the Sentinel and the Flexile Sentry at the same time. That's kind of messy. I believe the ones who come in, they've got like pyromancy flames, don't they? Yeah, no, hold on. Yeah, the suspicious shadows, that's right. So they've got the dual melee attacks. You've got to deal with like two of them at the same time. Otherwise, you can always try to use a lightning-infused weapon or miracles. Yeah, as long as you are human, you can summon Lucatiel of Mira even while you are playing in offline mode, because she's an NPC. So her summon will always be available to you. So you can try summoning Lucatiel to help attract some attention. But the other thing you can do is probably use a lightning-infused weapon. So, for example, if your build allows you to use Sunlight Blade, off your weapon with Sunlight Blade, because the shadows are already weak to lightning, and the fact that you're standing in water will increase the lightning damage. if you don't have that, gold pine resin's perfectly fine as well. Yeah, gold pine resin should be also fine. Or if you've got lightning miracles like lightning spear. But the thing is, I can't remember if they continually respawn while the boss is still alive. Maybe they might. Actually, no, they don't. It's one of those things where they appear when the boss is there, so you can beat them and then focus on Flexile. And Flexile as well should be weaker. Should also take extra damage from lightning as well. Just simply from the fact of being in water. Yeah, so hopefully that helps you out. Yeah, just getting an offline summon like Lucatiel and then lightning infused weapon or sunlight blade or gold pine resin. Hope Lucatiel can attract some attention, focus down the shadows, and then you can go deal with Flexile Sentry. Yeah, New Game Plus this is one of those things where Dark Souls 2 is really good because it changes up New Game Plus in that way. Certain enemies will have supporting characters. Like as you're saying here with Flexile Sentry.